Welcome back to another episode of the UIS Coaches Show. I'm Michael Iota. My guest, as always, head coach Olivia Lett with the Prairie Stars women's basketball team. Stars coming off a tough road trip down to Bolivar and Kansas City this last weekend. 81-78 loss to Southwest Baptist and a 63-50 loss to Rockhurst. Coach, tough road trip, always in the GLVC. Let's talk a little bit about both these games and break these down. Southwest Baptist, this was an exciting game to watch. Unfortunately, on the losing end, 81-78. A lot of things to digest, a lot of things to go over. Tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that ball game.
I think that they had a great game plan. We weren't fully prepared for what they threw at us. They also had a really good weekend. I think that Coach Brock told me that they knocked off McKendree maybe this weekend too.
Yeah, McKendree's a good win.
Yeah, and so they had a really good weekend. And I think, we had some good spots this weekend, but we had some rough stretches. And they were really rough stretches when we had them. So we had one bad corner in that game, and that really kind of killed us. The rest of them were at least competitive. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of the trend for the weekend.
Yeah, that third quarter, 33-15 Southwest Baptist. What happened? What did Southwest Baptist do, or what did we not do in that third quarter? I mean, 33 points in a quarter is a lot. Obviously they were hit some shots, but tell us a little bit about specifically what broke down in that quarter for you guys.
They did a lot of things right in that quarter. Obviously, if you're scoring 33 points, you're doing a lot right. They got to the free throw line, which I felt like we had done a pretty consistent job of keeping them off the free throw line prior to that. And then they also offensive rebounded a ton in that quarter. And so they didn't miss very much, but when they did, they got their own rebound. And so I think they scored on almost every possession between those, just shooting a high percentage, getting the offensive rebound or getting to the free throw line. I think they were well over a point per possession during that quarter. And so when you're not getting stops, it's, we still scored some, but it's hard to score at that same rate.
Yeah, naturally. Your team has showed some resiliency, though. I mean, had a good fourth quarter. You got back into that game, got into a one-possession game, and got late. I thought one big part of that game was Kayla Rice, the 218 mark. She had 28 points, was really effective offensively. Picks up that fifth foul, on I think at half court or so from there. I'm interested to kind of hear your perspective of this a little bit. I know Kayla's a great defender, right? But with a player, 28 points, 4 fouls, knowing you're probably going to need her in those last 2 minutes in those kind of situations, what should have changed there, right? Do you still want her to be as aggressive? Do you tell her, hey, we need you more on the offensive end than the defensive end? Walk us through a little bit of your perspective on what you do with players in those kind of situations.
Yeah, I think right now, we got to put ourselves in those situations more often, right? Mm-hmm. Whether that's practice, whether that's games. I think at times we're easily frustrated. I think at times we need to learn some of the basketball IQ plays still, whether that's saving the ball under somebody else's basket, whether that's fouling 70 feet from the basket in a close game late, whether that's shot selection. Those are the things that when you're not in that situation on a regular basis, you still have to learn them. Mm-hmm. And we've got to make sure we put ourselves in those situations in practice and put ourselves in frustrating situations in practice and have to respond to those. And so that's something that, we'll continue to focus on the rest of the year because you don't always see them in game situations. So you've got to try to mimic it as much in practice so that we can get reps at that. That's the same thing as any of the physical stuff that you see. We've got to make sure that we get some of those mental reps as well.
Yeah, and Kayla had 28 in that ball game. She had 18 in the game of Rockhurst. We'll talk a little bit about that. That's a huge offensive weekend. I know earlier this year we talked a little bit about her shot selection. She had a lot of points this weekend. What do you think about her shot selection? Is it getting better? Is it getting to a spot where you're happy with the shots that she's taking? Has she grown in that level?
Yeah, I think in the second game, that was as efficient as maybe she's been all year in terms of amount of shots and points. Some of that was I don't know if we took great shots other places, and so I don't know how much the ball touched her hands, but she's done a better job, I think, recently at least of, finding some of those assists too. I'd be interested to know exactly what her assist per game in the last 5 is compared to the previous 5, because I do think she's taken some focus there. We have had a few chances to rest Sahara Murphy a couple times, and so she's had some reps at the 1, probably a little bit more than she did early in the year. Early in the year, we were running Murph about 39 minutes a game, and so we've gotten her down to 35 or less, and so Kayla's gotten some more reps at the 1, and I think that just changes the dynamic of our team because it looks a little bit different as well.
Yeah, good. And then we'll move to that second game at Rockhurst, and this one a little simpler than Southwest Baptist. This was all about the first quarter. Being down 18-4 after one quarter, only scoring 4 points on the road is brutal to do, and your team made a valiant effort the rest of the game to try to get back into it, ultimately losing 63-50, but just, too much of a hill to climb after that poor first quarter.
Yeah, we I think each quarter, at least the first 3, I think I called a timeout within the first 90 seconds. And so we were struggling with adjustments and making sure that we were ready to execute some of those things. I do feel like as much as it looks like an offensive issue, I do think a lot of it was the defensive side of it.
Okay.
We could not generate any offense out of our defense. When we're really good, we're generating a lot of transition looks out of our defense. And it gets you over that hump of, losing some confidence in the half court from an offensive standpoint. It gets you some easy buckets, so then when you get in that half court, you're a little bit more patient. You can move the ball, you can reverse it, you get 5 or 6 passes instead of 1 or 2, and I think that's something that we lost sight of at times in that game was, okay, if we can go get ourselves a really easy stop, we can go get a really easy look in transition, and then we see the ball go through the basket. And we didn't have very many of those in that entire game. And so that's something that when you don't see that early, it starts to nag on you a little bit.
Yeah. Your first trip to Kansas City, tough gym to play in. That's a tough atmosphere at Rockhurst, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. You got the high walls and the fans sit above you, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, unique to the GLVC for sure. Let's look ahead. You're back home this week, so it'd be great to have you guys. We have We Are Stars game coming up on Thursday night against Missouri S&T, and then the perennial powerhouse Drury is coming in here Saturday afternoon. Talk to us a little bit about what these opponents bring to track this weekend.
Yeah, everybody's new to me, and so every week it is me, whatever I've looked at the scout for that week. Missouri S&T has one of the better records in the league right now, and I think is probably one of their better records in the last couple of years, just overall. They're big on the inside, and that's somewhere where we've struggled a little bit. They've got a couple posts that really work hard for them on the inside, and then they've got some shooters on the outside, and so it'll be a tough matchup. I think it's a difference in terms of pace of play, but we'll see what that looks like when we get in here on Thursday. Excited to have the students back on campus and be able to have a home game with them, in their first week of class. So it'll be nice to have them in track.
Classes for the first time being in class, and you guys being home with you guys being gone last week. And then Saturday, of course, Drury coming in, another team that perennially has been really good in the GLVC, present another good challenge for you guys. Yeah,
their head coach, Casey Bailey, was actually one of my teammates at SAU Carbondale for a year.
Oh, nice.
And so when I was at Milliken, we scrimmaged them a couple times at Quincy, so a little familiar with their style, not necessarily familiar with their players right now.
Oh, nice. Very nice. It'll be awesome to watch that ball game, and again, a good home weekend here coming up. Coach, you've done a lot of things off the court, community-wise. Anything coming up that you want us to know about as far as that goes? Yeah,
every year, our team's at Milliken, and we've got a few players that'll be involved with it this year. Are involved with Night to Shine, Tim Tebow's Night to Shine in Decatur at GT Church. I believe it's February 7th, and it's a Friday night, and sign-ups are open. It's a great organization. It's a prom for people with special needs, and so you go and you're somebody's buddy for the night and kind of follow them around, go to the different events with them, and it's one of the more fulfilling things that we're involved with.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Again, that's February 7th, in Decatur?
Yes, correct.
Perfect. Yeah, well, we'll certainly get some more information out about that and make sure to have everybody find out where they can go to get more information on that and get signed up. That sounds like a fantastic cause. Coach, we're looking forward to seeing the Stars back here this weekend. Best of luck there for the UIS Coaches Show. This is Michael Iota.